If you're a SaaS founder or a non-technical SaaS manager, one of your biggest goals is probably to move faster and ship features quickly. One approach we have found extremely effective in achieving this is by expanding the role of Headless CMS within your SaaS platform. In this video, I will share exactly how this strategy can help you speed up your SaaS product development, giving you flexibility, speed, and control, all without sacrificing customization. I'm Alex, with over 10 years of experience in the software development industry, and now as a technical lead of Codelevate, I specialize in building cloud-based applications and leading development teams to deliver software effectively and scalably using modern architectures. So, in the beginning of the video, I was telling about how can we expand the Headless CMS. But if you don't know actually what is Headless CMS, let me give you a quick rundown. There's a lot of intros and informations about the Headless CMS, so I will not go into the details, but I will go into the parts that are actually important for this video for you to understand. To put it simply, Headless CMS is a content management system that separates your backend content storage from the front-end presentation. The information is delivered through APIs and can be delivered to various platforms. Most Headless CMSs, if not all, come with a nice CMS admin panel from where you can provide CRUD operations, which is create, read, update, or delete. You can upload medias like images and videos. And you can also perform some global platform configurations. Next to these operations, there's many more features, but for now, we're going to focus on this part. Common use cases is to serve your web content, manage your static pages, which means updating text, updating images, writing blogs via this CMS admin, and uploading media and assets, as mentioned before. So with Headless CMS, instead of you managing your website content through traditional tightly coupled systems, Headless CMS allows you to store your content independently and deliver it anywhere via an API. There's a lot of Headless CMS tools on the market, like Strapi, Payload, Contentful, etc. Typically, as you can see, the Headless CMS is used to manage these use cases. But today, we're going to talk about how can you expand beyond these traditional uses and significantly streamline your SaaS product development. Before we move to that, one other component that we need to talk is, of course, your components and configurations. Modern SaaS platforms are often built using frameworks like Next.js, which use components to structure their user interface. These user interface components could be buttons, inputs, UI sections, you name it. So in the end, think of a component as the building block of your application, which can be configured to fit your business needs. Whether you use a UI library like Tailwind or Material UI, like for example here, or actually you are more mature and you're using design systems which are specifically built for your application, these components rely heavily on configuration data to display content and functionality. Usually these configurations are done through props or settings. And the best way to explain you and just visualize you is actually showing the Material UI library. As you can see on their page, you're going to see a lot of different UI components. A configuration in this case could be to configure the text to be shown in the middle. Could be the color of the button. Could be if this should be selected or not. There's a lot of different configurations that you can pass, and it all depends on the component itself. So now that we have established that we have Headless CMS that can serve any type of data to your platforms, and we understand a bit how you can configure components and how they're the building blocks of your SaaS platform, we are moving towards connecting Headless CMS and SaaS. And that's where the magic happens. So each component has their configurations. As you can see here from the Material UI website, these are different components that the library provides. A configuration could be the alignment of the text, could be the color, or it could be even more complex props and settings based on the library itself and based actually on what has been configured in that component. And most of the times, all of these configurations are simple text or some sort of a data that when the application reads, understand what they need to do with that component or how to configure it. So now that we have this understanding of Headless CMS, which provides data in any type of format, and we understand how components are the building blocks of your SaaS platform, or in any platform actually using modern frameworks, and we know that configurations are values that you can pass to your components via props or settings. Now we are ready to understand more how can we connect Headless CMS with your SaaS and actually go beyond some of the common use cases that Headless CMS is used. So here where the magic happens. We have our Headless CMS, which we have identified that provides all of your data and stores all of your data via API. The data that is usually storing is either components configurations, data like the text in a field or maybe the label of the field. And there's also ability to create relationships to other components that you have built. So by managing your components configuration in a Headless CMS admin panel, you can provide that information via APIs to your SaaS frontend that you're using. And usually the SaaS frontend will pass that data to components that you have either built or you're using from a UI library, and that will render your page. So what that allows you is that once you build your components and they're ready to accept configuration from your CMS, you can control big part of the configuration of these components and their alignment and order within a page and how they're used via the CMS. It does not exclude completely the developer's work because the developer work still needs to build the business logic. But as you can see, it provides more of a focus point towards the business logic, which is actually delivering value through your SaaS platform. And we are building a process and a framework to control the UI as much as possible through Headless CMS. So in order to visualize this process, let's jump into some practical examples that we have built for our clients. So first I'm going to start with a basic example. Here, actually, you see a screenshot from actual components that we have specifically built for one of our clients that can be reused and can be used in order to build, static content, static pages. How it actually works is that you're selecting your components that a developer has already built, such as a home section or a hero section, and you, via the CMS, provide the configuration that has been set up for this component in order to work correctly. So all the props and configurations are developed specifically for your case. So in order to present this in a more real case scenario, imagine that your marketing team wants to create or update a landing page quickly. Normally, you would have to queue this task for a developer, but by using Headless CMS and your components, your marketing team can easily adjust page layouts, text, images, or the entire sections. And once they hit save, changes are reflected immediately, or depending on how they're configured, in your SaaS platform. This dramatically speeds up your marketing campaigns and experiments, and again, focus your development team to provide value in building code that's related to your business logic and your business process. So this is still some way a common case. Building components that you can serve via the Headless CMS for static content. And now I'm going to jump into a bit of a more complex case that we are also utilizing here. So here we come to managing forms. As you know, every SaaS platform has some sort of a form that a user can input their information. The basic one will be register, but you also have more complex, either multi-step forms or larger forms that a user needs to fill in a lot of information. Again, here, the way that we have approached it is we're building our components, but this time for the form. As you can see here, these form components are more on an atomic level. Input fields, select fields, upload fields, multi-select fields, all of the different type of fields that we required for a platform in order to build and manage a modern SaaS application. So you will say, okay, how does it actually this going to work? Very similar to the case of the web content. So now that we know that we have also the form components, let's see an example of a very simple register form. As you can see, the components here are selected in the order that they will be displayed in the page. You have your input fields, you have your multiple input fields for name, email address, etc. And you have also the buttons of actually what will be submitting that form. You also see here that each component has multiple configurations fields. Some of them are more focused for developer to configure. Some of them are left to the non-technical roles that can still control the information within the platform and within this form. So here you can clearly separate the roles of users that want to adjust only basic information. And you also have the ability for the developer to use this Headless CMS in order to speed up their development and their delivery by only configuring the form through the Headless CMS admin. So together, the developers are working with the Headless CMS, and it allows also for the flexibility for non-technical users to still have control over smaller changes, or actually if they want to expand their knowledge and learn how can they use these components to build forms themselves. We also here have an example of a bit of a more complex or different form, like edit form. Here again, you have your input fields, but you see, for example, we have a multi-select where you can actually provide the values. So if your business needs are changing and you need to remove or add options, you don't rely on a developer that needs to adjust the code, deploy, and go through the whole process of delivery, but you can do that yourself quickly. So in general, updating these forms in standard way involves a tedious coding and deployment process. But if your forms are built from configurable components managed via your Headless CMS, you can simply add, remove, and modify form fields through the CMS interface. Updates are instant, or depends how they're configured, and the developers are free to focus on core business logic and functionality. So one of the things that maybe you could be asking, or you're already sort of understanding, is, okay, using this Headless CMS beyond their normal and usual capabilities or usage, what are some of the benefits that you will be getting? So going beyond this general CMS usage, it enables your team to deliver faster. It avoids lengthy development cycles for simple changes. It accelerates your feature deployments and development, because with each stage that you are developing your components and you're expanding your system, you're actually empowering to have component-driven development. And with every stage where your component library grows, you actually can develop other features using these components quicker. Now you might be wondering about common concerns such as the security, performance, and the complexity. So let's quickly address these. From a security standpoint, you are still providing data to your application. It doesn't matter that that data is configuration of components or your user data. All of the data is going through an authentication and authorization process, so your components information or anything is actually safe. However, the performance is easily solved just by the caching capabilities of all modern frameworks. In the case of our technical stack with Next.js, you can provide validation settings, so you can say that you can cache that information for, let's say, a period of 1 minute or actually hours, depending on how often you're changing information. Lastly, the concerns about complexity is usually elevated by documentation and clear separation of roles and who needs to adjust what. But it allows your team to grow and actually provide them more responsibilities, especially non-technical roles, to have more control over the platform and actually share the updates and the managing of the platform. So in the end, by using your Headless CMS in this expanded way, your SaaS becomes significantly more flexible and faster to iterate on each cycle. Each new component you create enhances your ability to scale quickly and efficiently. You also keep your flexibility. If you receive user feedback that maybe you need to adjust a form or something is incorrect, or you need to adjust the static content for your marketing campaigns, you can do that quickly via the CMS, avoiding, as we said, the development cycles that are standard in our industry. Thank you for listening. If you have found this useful or have any questions about implementing this approach or any of the tools that we're actually using, let me know in the comments below. And I hope this information helps you accelerate your SaaS growth. Thank you.